Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and this is one that I have promised, and I've kind of struggled with how to present this, and I think I'm just going to do it in parts, and that is the symbolism of the structures on the Giza Plateau. And this is one area of history that I have looked into quite considerably. A lot of my videos, I just put out information and possibilities, but there are certain things that I am positive of, just because that's what the story I get from the earliest Egyptians and their text and art and symbolism and everything. And we are flying into what we know as the Sphinx today. And I know there are people that I totally respect and I owe my whole interest in ancient history to, and that's people like Graham Hancock and others who have stated that this originally was a lion looking at Leo 10,500 years ago. And that's originally what I thought I would find when investigating the earliest Egyptian text and symbolism and art and everything I possibly could. But nowhere from the earliest Egyptians do they say this is a lion. They tell us perfectly what it is in every way possible. It is the great god Anubis, who was the original god of Giza. So doesn't that make sense that your original god is going to be represented with your greatest shrine? And here he is crouched at the edge of the desert, guarding the royal necropolis or the sacred necropolis, just as the anthropomorphic meaning of Anubis and jackals states. Nowhere is a lion represented crouching on the edge of the desert, guarding a necropolis. The earliest Egyptians tell us perfectly what this is. And when investigating this, the Sphinx, what it was originally, and here you see a lot of the restoration work. We know that Tutmosis IV, about 3,500 years ago, repaired this shrine, and we know that in the 4th dynasty, who the standard model of history says built the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, we know from the earliest Egyptians and their text that they actually repaired these monuments, and they say the gods built them. That is what we get from the 4th dynasty. But the standard model of history will tell you something else. And Graham Hancock says we should listen to the earliest Egyptians and what they tell us. So I took his advice underhand, and they tell us exactly what the meaning of this is from the only tomb that was discovered that was untouched. This is a video called Anubis, the Ark, and the Gates of Heaven, and this comes from the tomb of King Tut, Tutankhamun. And here, what did Howard Carter find when he opened up this door and looked into this, was the first person to look into this tomb in over 3,000 years? What did he find? He found Anubis in the exact posture of the Sphinx, guarding this tomb of one of the most, important people of that time. And all pharaohs were important, no matter what they did. They were considered gods almost. And here is Anubis on his shrine, and that's how the earliest descriptions of Anubis describe him, as Anubis on his shrine, because he was the great shrine of the royal necropolis of Giza, Rostau. And here he is, sitting on top of his shrine, guarding Tutankhamun's tomb. And what is this called? This is called the box coffin of Orion, and Anubis is guarding the gates of heaven. And surely the people who built the tomb of a pharaoh would know the earliest descriptions of the symbolism of Anubis and what he really represented. So going back to the Giza Plateau here is Anubis, and people have said he's in this enclosure. What's he doing in this pit? That's odd. The greatest shrine in the world is down in a pit. Well, it's not a pit, people. It is the box coffin of Orion. And there is Anubis guarding the box coffin of Orion, sitting on the gates of heaven, and as long as you know that, the pyramids are perfectly explained in my next video. So here is Anubis. Originally, and all of this stuff came later, but originally, and who only knows how old this original monument is, but the inherited knowledge of what we know as the dynastic Egyptians, this is Anubis guarding the gates of heaven on the box coffin of Orion. That is the real symbolism of the Sphinx on the Giza Plateau. And here we are kind of in back of the Great Monument, and on March 21st, Anubis was facing the rising sun on the spring equinox, and that is a very important day. This isn't a lion just in a vague alignment with a constellation. There was a purpose for the alignment. It is on March 21st. It is the day that begins an initiation. It is a spiritual death. It is ancient resurrection, and it has nothing to do with the physical body dying. That's why this is the box coffin of Orion, and that is why the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid never had a body in it and is empty. It's all about symbolism, and I will get to that in my next video. I want to mention that. And it's not important that you believe me, because you can always investigate this for yourself. And that is part 1 of the symbolism of the Giza Plateau. It is Anubis guarding the box coffin of Orion, guarding the gates of heaven. That is part 1 of the symbolism of the Giza Plateau. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.